Let me tell you why you're here.
I've seen things.
Oh my god.
Whoa, yeah! You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Guaranteed to jack you up.
Yo, what is going on, my dudes? It's your host, Lamar Stays Weird, coming to you once again with another podcast. Now, this, and I know I say this every single time, this is another movie I deeply love. And man, if you grew up in the early 2000s or like the late 90s or anywhere around that time period, you know this fucking movie, man. Everybody knows this fucking movie. And I watched this way too young. I've seen a good portion of the franchise. I love these characters. I molded my sponge brain personality as a child around these characters, and for better, for worse, it mainly for worse. So I am very sorry to my family, my friends, my extended family, and school faculty workers, because damn, I was a little shit, man. God, this movie did some stuff to me, man. As you can tell by the thumbnail and the title, we're going to be talking about American Pie. Now, I always thought it was a great coming of age movie. I personally now, as time has gone on, I found better ones in my personal opinion, but there's just something about the American Pie movies that just hit a sweet spot, man. Like, and no pun intended, but it just hits. The time period, definitely the characters themselves, like the people, the situations, the actors themselves, just pop culture in general, the music choices that they had in these movies, top notch. Exactly why I'm wearing my Enema of the State anniversary shirt from 1999. So yeah, I'm a big fan. So I thought I would try my best to kind of look the part. I know Jim wears a lot of floral over shirts, so I was like, you know what, fuck it. Let me put that over good old nurse right here. I know you can't really see it because of my microphone, but yeah. Man, I love this movie. It is such a good vibe movie as well. Like, I don't know, it's just one of those things. And I watched it last night with my girlfriend because it's been a while. We watched the unrated version. Man, if you haven't seen this movie, go check it out. I mean, you can definitely hear me talk about it. Now, I will give a fair warning. Holy shit. My talking points in here, a lot of them are going to be not safe for work. Some of you are probably going to learn things you never really wanted to learn about me, or just hear things you don't really want to hear. So depending on the setting that you're in, I'm so sorry. So definitely listen with headphones, or I don't know what to tell you, but hopefully you guys dig my bullshit, because this is what I do. I know the formula has kind of evolved as I got more and more into these. We are on the 21st episode, and I think it's only right to do this movie, you know, drinking age, American summer, and all that type of shit, you know, dumb shit. But this is a movie I had to cover, and I do have things I can talk about. Of course, if I can relate to it or have my own experiences or anything, I'm gonna talk about it here, because I'm not just talking about the movies themselves. I'm also just talking about somebody who loves the movie, why, what memories, what feelings I have attached to it. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And hopefully you guys are here for that as well. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to learn a lot about, well, maybe each other, but you're about to learn a lot about me. Do with that what you will. Let's get into like the synopsis and some details, and then we'll get into the, not really spoilery. I mean, it's a comedy movie. I don't think it's anything. It's one of those movies you don't have to take serious at all. You kind of just watch and enjoy, and that's definitely the point. And thing is, there is a very strict like formula all comedy movies go to. So if you've seen one, you kind of seen them all. You already know like the journeys everyone's gonna go through, and so on and so forth. So it's nothing that amazing. What's really great is just the chemistry between people, the time period, how it captures it, just the good vibes. That's what you're there for. You're there for the fun. You're there for the good vibes. You're there for the gratuitous nudity, which it's not even really gratuitous, because that's the point of the movie. It's one of these sex focused movies where that's exactly what you're going for. And everybody can relate, being a fucking teenager going up until like your early 20s. Sex is weird. Sex is all over the place, and sex is like everywhere. And being in America, where it's taboo to talk about, but we flash it everywhere, it is It is a pinnacle in our culture, but we try not to look at it. If you know what I mean, it's weird. Like, just like these posters on my wall. Sex. I'm the American culture. This is what you pay attention to. But we're going to glamorize this, but also say, fuck this. Don't do this. You're going to hell if you enjoy any of this and that, and especially that and that over there. It's weird. We have this weird relationship with sex, and I know a lot of other countries don't. Some it's stricter, some it's a lot looser, no pun intended. But alrighty, let's get into it. So we are following a group of friends that are just tired of being virgins, and they're like, you know what, let's make a pact. We're actually going to get this shit done. We're going to lose our virginity before we graduate. So we are going to lose our virginity like prom. That's like the last opportunity we have before we graduate, so we don't go to college as virgins. And people can say this doesn't happen, that it's dumb or whatever. No, this happens. This 100% happens. And I'm pretty sure people out there, I feel like this is almost exactly what I went through. You know, this is all my friends and I would talk about. We would boast about like, oh, like, did this happen, whatever, or did you hear about like this person and that person? Like, that's all it was, man. You know, your fucking hormones are going crazy and shit, and it's fucking weird. I kind of miss when that was my only problems in the world, was just trying to conceal like a fucking boner or something, you know, like that was a good time. You know, back then I thought, fuck my life. But you know what? I'd take a boner I'm trying to hide in public any day over the shit that I deal with now. And I'm pretty sure a lot of us would agree with that. This is all about just friends trying to become men by the end of their journey, by the end of high school, which is a lot more depressing than you think. But we're not going to get into all the bad vibes of it right now. This is kind of more of a good vibe video and a weird video that maybe people can enjoy, and maybe some of you, this might be your first introduction to my podcast, and if so, welcome aboard. I'm happy you chose to either listen or watch. And then I also say I'm sorry, because like I said, you're probably gonna hear some shit you didn't really want to hear. We're probably not cool enough to know these things, but shit happens, and I did give a warning. So this movie is actually turning 25 very soon. This movie came out July 9th, 1999. So if you have that as a birthday, congratulations. You share a birthday with a pretty great movie, and you're turning 25. This is the year you're turning 25. That's pretty insane. So 5 years till 30, baby. Let's hope that that's better than your 20s. Now, the tagline for this movie is "There's something about your first piece." And I feel like I can't really relate to that, but I mean, we're gonna go over that later. But good tagline, good pun. I dig it. Now, this movie is sitting at a solid 7 out of 10 on IMDb, and then the average on Letterboxd is actually 3.1, which, I mean, it's not for everybody, so I get it, and it's not one of the most amazing or cinematic movies out there. It is something, and I think this movie's probably special to a lot of fucking people. And I say that as the movie was only made on a budget of $11 million, and try to guess how much like this movie made. I'm gonna give you a little bit of time, but time is ticking, and we gotta get going. It made $235.4 million. Amazing. That is fucking insane, dude. That is an amazing feat, and no wonder it spawned this very large franchise. But a lot of them are straight DVD like movies, and it's just kind of like just schlock. I only like the movies with the main cast, so like 1, 2, Wedding, and Reunion. So the 4 movies are the only ones I really pay attention to. And I have 2 popular positive reviews, and I'm going to read them to you now just so you guys can get an idea. This person gave it 3 stars, saying, "It's been years and I still don't understand why he fucks the pie." I cannot answer that for you, random person on the internet. And a lot of people couldn't either. It had like thousands of likes, and I honestly don't know, because in my personal experience and just things that I've known, like in my kind of close bubble, the only people I knew that were doing anything with food was women. I'm just gonna say that. I don't know anybody who did this, but I just fucking know, because of this fucking movie, so many people attempted something like this. I just know it. And I'm pretty sure there's people out there who would not want to admit that, because they do not want to be known as the pie fucker. Jason Biggs, who plays Jim in this movie, our lead, he was very worried that's what would happen. Like he would ruin his career by taking on this role and doing this wild stunt. And rightfully so, because honestly, and it even became a meta joke because he shows up in Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back playing himself. He even acknowledges like that's all I'm known as is just the pie fucker, and then he even gets called like the pie fucker. And I don't think anybody else wants that. This dude made a career off of it, and he got his bag, man. That's good, but if you're kind of just like a regular street level person, I don't think you want to be known as the pie fucker. I'm just saying, like that might not be a great moniker that you want to have. All right, and the next one, they rated it just 2.5 stars, and they said, "Are we just gonna ignore how Heather and Oz are the OG Troy and Gabriella from High School Musical?" I do not like High School Musical. My girlfriend loves High School Musical. And I saw this and I just had to tell her. And she even agreed, like, oh shit, this is literally that. So honestly, for people that may not like this movie or whatever, you might not have High School Musical without American Pie. That's all I'm saying. And then I have some popular negative reviews I wanted to read. Now, this one is kind of a meme. They gave it 1 star and they said Octavia Spencer's shit pie outsold, which it's in direct reference to The Help, where Octavia Spencer like shit in a pie and fed it to somebody. And this one right here didn't really make sense to me, and I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen the movie yet, but I will. But I do know of the infamous scene, so that's kind of all I really know about that movie, which I think is like the main takeaway from that movie. At least that's what a lot of people took away from that movie. But they gave it 1 star, and they said the apple pie scene is like the peach scene in Call Me by Your Name, but with none of the nuance. This 1 star is only for John Cho's cameos as a MILF-loving guy and as a vocal jazz group member. This hasn't aged gracefully at all, in my view, but seriously, a warm apple pie on the kitchen countertop, 3 question marks. Now, I think they're just comparing apples to oranges here a little bit with the Call Me by Your Name, because if I'm aware, that's like a drama and some other stuff. This is just a comedy movie, dude. Comedy movies you don't have to take serious. They're only just there for the good vibes. Can comedy movies have like some substance to them and actually, you know, I guess have more meaning? Then yeah, like, you know, it's possible. You know, but it's not a requirement. That they're just meant to have fun. I appreciate them at least giving John Cho like, you know, a star. That's pretty cool. And yeah, he shows up in a few of the movies just as the MILF guy. I think that's hilarious. And in case you people don't know John Cho, he's Harold from Harold and Kumar. So another great little like connection here. And another little fun fact, I believe he was the oldest person in this movie to play a high schooler. I think he was like 27 at the time. That shows you the state of Hollywood, how we just get older people to play young people. But I get it because of the scenarios we put them in. I don't think we can just throw in a bunch of teenagers, but they did have some teenagers throughout this movie. It's just varying ages. All right, now I'm going to go over the cast before we actually get into the movie. So we have Jason Biggs, who's playing Jim. You may know him from the movie Loser. He was in Wheatus's Teenage Dirtbag music video and Orange is the New Black. Chris Klein, who plays Oz. I mainly know him from Just Friends, and he was also in that show Wilfred back in the early 2000s. That was actually about the talking dog and Elijah Wood. It was a weird project that got a lot of attention. Thomas Ian Nichols. Now, I will say a lot of these people are known for this movie, so I'm only naming like other projects they've been in that they may also be known for. But Thomas, who plays Kevin, is also in The Rules of Attraction and Adverse. Jennifer Coolidge. Everybody fucking knows Jennifer Coolidge at this point. I definitely don't have to explain that at all. And she obviously plays Stifler's mom. Shannon Elizabeth, who plays Nadia, the foreign exchange student. She's from some of the Jay and Silent Bob movies and Scary Movie, which is another movie I'm definitely going to cover at one point. I already have the research. I just need to record it. Allison Hannigan, who plays Michelle, the band geek. She was in the show Buffy the Vampire Slayer and How I Met Your Mother, so she's very popular on TV. Eugene Levy, Jim's dad, and he's mainly known for like this role and in Schitt's Creek, which I believe is his son's show. And can I just say, I find him and his son very handsome men. I can't explain it, but they just have something, man. They have an aura, they have a vibe, they have the sauce, they got something, man. They're just fucking saucy, man. I can't explain it, but they seem like well put together, just handsome dudes with a cool vibe. And I love Eugene Levy and all of the American Pie movies. He is such a standout and my favorite character by a long shot. So mad respect to Eugene Levy. And I think I'm saying this right, Natasha Lyonne. I think I'm getting that right. She's known in Orange is the New Black and Detroit Rock City. Chris Owen, Sherman, or the Shermanator. He was in The Mist and Major Payne. Tara Reid, now she was everywhere like in the late 90s, early 2000s. So a lot of people are very familiar with her, but she was also in Van Wilder and Alone in the Dark. Sean William Scott. Now, I feel very bad for Sean William Scott because he got so typecast by this movie because everybody wanted Stifler and everybody only knew him as Stifler. So it made it really hard for him to get out and branch into anything. And I'll admit, I'm part of the problem. I will always see him as Stifler. I enjoyed him, but I don't mean it in any type of discouraging way or anything like that because I love the character Stifler. Even as problematic as he is, I loved him and I think he did an incredible job. And so I only say that with love. He will always be Stifler to me. But he has his own set of Goon movies and Welcome to Flatch. And then we have Mina Suvari. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right too as well. She plays Heather. She's from American Beauty, Loser, and she was also in the Wheatus music video Teenage Dirtbag along with Jason Biggs. I believe they played like love interests, yeah. And then we have Eddie Kane Thomas, who plays Finch, or Shipbrick as another name that he's known a lot for in this movie. And he is in Harold and Kumar. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and get into this movie. So right off the bat, right after you turn on and see the movie logos and stuff, you already hear it. You know exactly what this movie is and what you're in for, because all you hear is just like moaning and you just hear like porno like music and shit. And it's funny because this is our very first introduction to Jim, who's just ready to fucking get his rocks off. And then out of nowhere, and it's so sad at the same time, because later it's revealed that this is actually a VHS tape that he found like in the garbage. So it's all like fucked up, distorted. You could barely see like any boobs on the screen or anything, but you can hear the audio kind of fine. It's so depressing to just see this shit going on and realize just how bad this dude has it. He has no access to anything. And in walks his mom, and she's trying to like pick up clothes and shit, and he's just there with like his junk out, but he has like a sock over it and stuff, but he's covering himself with a pillow, so it's already very awkward. And he's surprisingly calm and still focused on the TV while this stuff is playing. Obviously you can't make out much, so he's not too worried, but you can hear it. You can hear the shit it's saying about riding like a fucking pony and shit like that. But she starts to hear something and like, wait a minute, something's up. And he's like, no, everything's fine. And then in walks the dad. So Jim's dad's coming in, trying to figure out what's going on. And his mom's going like, I think he's trying to watch some illegal channels. And it's like, illegal channels. Never fucking heard it called that before until like this movie. And while they're talking, they overhear what's happening. So they're just like, all right, like something's up. So they like grab like the pillow and stuff, like pretty much like telling like, okay, we're gonna get out of here, like you need to come with us, like we're gonna have a talk or some shit like that. And then that's when they see that his junk is just sitting right there, and they completely get the gist of what is going on. And boy, fuck, like the secondhand embarrassment in some of these scenes is just overwhelming. But man, no matter what, it's like it kind of makes me feel bad, but it's not exactly gonna make me feel bad for Jim because I just love Jim's dad so much. He's just fucking cool, man. I love Eugene Levy, and he improvised a lot of his stuff, which is great to hear because it is fucking top notch, and I think he's definitely some of the best things about these movies. Now we're gonna start getting into the parts where it's definitely gonna get a bit embarrassing, and it definitely will be. And I do not want to talk about these outside the podcast because I know like there are some family members that do listen to my podcast, so I don't want to hear anything about it outside of this. So if you hear it, you heard nothing, whatever. But I do have like my own little stories that I can probably relate to this. There's a few I can bounce off just this scene alone, and this is before we even get to the fucking title card. So prepare yourselves, like we're about to get in the not safe for work territory. So I can fully relate to Jim with the whole VHS tape thing, going to that extent because you didn't have anything. Now, what I had to do is the most backwards shit ever. And I want to say I was big brain too. I don't really know how I even thought of this, but this is back in the day of flip phones. So we didn't have shit like this where I could just access anything anytime. No, that's not exactly what it was. So think of a flip phone, just how small it was, how small the screen was too, man. All right, really try to fucking picture these things. So back in the day, I had a cell phone because I was home alone a lot. So I was able to have my own phone, but I was not allowed to have internet, which they would charge you out the ass for internet back in the day. The only people that had internet on their phones were my parents. Now, like I said, I don't know how I pieced this together, but I somehow had an amazing idea where, all right, while they're sleeping in the middle of the night, let me go in, let me grab a phone, one of their phones because they have internet. And now SIM cards, everybody knows SIM cards because, I know they're doing away with them now, but they were, still a thing. Let me grab theirs. Let me take the battery out, let me pop one out, put it into my phone because my phone would then be allowed to have internet. So I would just go there. I didn't have to worry about deleting any history or anything. Just pop it in, put the battery in, put the back on, and then start searching. And boom, I had everything in the palm of my hand. What little bit of the internet I had access to and whatever was there on the internet at that time, because this was the early 2000s, I literally crawled my way. I bled. I got rug burn. I was determined. I was deceitful. This is what I did. And I was able to do what I got to do. And then I had to go through the same process, go back, try to put it back nice and neat, everything the way it was, and be out again. I was fucking Mission Impossibling it. I don't know how many times a week, but I did this for a good while. And man, it was insane. And then I almost got caught because it somehow triggered and activated internet on my phone, and then we started to get charged for that. So they're like, how is internet getting on your phone? I'm just like, I have no idea. Like, I don't, how the fuck would I know? I'm just a child. How would I know? Like, all of a sudden, internet is like, you sure they're not changing something on our bill? Like, Singular's not doing some weird shit? Like, I don't know. Like, fucking, who would have thought, man? That's wild. That's weird. They're charging you. That's insane. You should get that money back. Yeah, man, that was something. And it's funny because my mom worked for Singular, so it wasn't like I was exactly fooling anybody, but I was just like, I don't know, like, maybe you don't know everything, like I'm telling a manager of a Singular store, I don't know, you might not know as much as you think, but what do I know? How would I know about that? So yeah, that was like the extent I had to go through. So I fully relate, and it's insane, dude. Nowadays, it's crazy how easy it is for anyone to just access anything. It's just like, God, you guys had no idea what I had to go through. I was in the fucking trenches, bro, every other night, in the goddamn trenches, on my belly, getting this shit. You guys, you didn't have to work for it. Not at all. You ain't got to do nothing. And that's not even the only time. There are still other things. Because, like, okay, not VHS, but we had DVDs. And then, of course, there was, like, like actual channels. And I know a lot of you guys also did the same thing. I would do this constantly, where, you go to, like, the really high channels. I think they were, like, the 500s or something like that. You go to those channels, and then what do? You fucking type in the number. You go to cartoons. So that way you could easily click that button right there, the quick return. Wouldn't even know. Previous channel, baby. Wouldn't even know. Super quick. Reflexes. Bam. Lila, you hear the door? Bam. Right there. Fucking swapped. Only problem was, every now and then I would fucking forget to swap back to the cartoons and scroll down or up a channel at least once. So that way, if they hit the button, it goes to another one. I was dumb and I forgot about those. So sometimes that stuff would tell on you back in the day. And man, God, that channel return button was something, man. That was clutch. Once again, a lot of you guys don't have to deal with that. I was playing with fire, man. You got fucking grandma could probably come over, watch TV, accidentally hit the channel return, and then she just has spread cheeks, on the screen, and God, man, I fuck. Oh man, what a time. And then I'm still not done because we're talking about the DVDs now, all the work that I had to go through. So my dad actually had DVDs, and man, DVD players would fucking tell on you as well. That's another thing I did not like. So I had to make sure, everything was tucked away. I had to make sure all the clothes were put right. DVD was like tilted at the same angle that I got it out from, it wasn't straight up or anything. It wasn't upside down, just a little rotated. So it's like, all right, cool. Obviously, he wasn't paying that much attention to how he fucking put the DVD in. So what I would do, watch it, and I would have to make sure I always rewind it to the moment. So I had to make sure I had like a little pin on the side. Go like, what are we at? We're like at what? Hour 15, 34 seconds? All right, 5, 30 seconds. Boom. I need to go back to that exact fucking point whenever I'm done. So that way, nobody ever knew. I was in and out like a ghost. Nobody would know anything. Okay? So that's what I had to do. That's how all the shit I had to go through just to get a nut. I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut. And I got it, damn it. But I got caught every now and then, but I got mine. I got mine. Jesus Christ. Oh, shit. But as we continue on in the movie, we get introduced to the other characters. We get Kevin, we get Vicky. They're a couple. They're trying to discuss, how's college going to work. Hopefully they get into the same colleges or so on and so forth. But they're worried about doing long distance. They're a couple that hasn't had sex yet. So they've only gone up to third base. So he's probably the closest to actually getting some, but he still hasn't yet. And it's going to be this whole thing where it's like, do they want to tell each other they love each other? So it's like pressure. And there usually is a lot of pressure when it comes to sex, especially at like a younger age because of our culture, how that was mainly a thing. I don't think it's much of a thing now, but I don't think of it that way. So I can't really imagine what it's like for somebody young nowadays to really see that and be like, damn, I'm not a man or anything until like I actually do this, and you're in a rush to do it and all that other stuff. I don't know if there's still that unfair pressure. I think nowadays there's way more stuff that kids are probably worried about. So I could be wrong, but I mean, hey, if you do happen to be in the younger crowd, let me know. I'm kind of curious of what's going through like your mind, at a young age. And then we meet up with everybody else. We meet up with Oz, Jim, Finch, Stifler. And this is where we finally get introduced to Stifler, who I think is probably one of the most iconic characters from this movie. Dude, like I said, I molded a lot of my personality and what I used to say a lot. And he comes up to Oz, and goes like, yeah, what's up, Oz, fuckface? And it's just like, dude, I used to call so many people fuckface back in the day. Like, God, like I used that word so much. It was fucking insane. And I had such a sailor's mouth at a young age. Like I was just cussing like a lot. Like that's just how it was. And I still do to this day, which if you listen to these podcasts, like my generation, like in my family, like me, my cousins, like all the kids of the family, we all have fucking filthy mouths, bro. My cousin, my first cousin, her name is BB, or at least her nickname is BB. Her and I, we just dropped the F-bombs like crazy, dude, all the time. And whenever we did live together for a short while, my mom and my aunt, who are twins, they would just be like, yo, can you fucking say something else besides the word fuck? And it's just like, it just became a whole thing. It's like, we just do. We use it like every other word. I don't know. I can't help it. I don't think it looks bad. I don't think profanity is a bad thing. Of course, it depends on what you're saying and like how you say it, but I don't give a shit, dude. Like, I don't know. I don't really care. Freedom of speech, bro. I talk to people how they're fucking people. I do the same thing when I work. I'm not being all super professional, like, oh yeah, like cookie cutter, like, dot my I's, crossing my T's. I'll talk to them like normal. And a lot of times they're taken aback a little bit because they're just like, do you not care how you're talking to me right now? And I'm just like, no, the fuck I don't. But like, holy shit, like, bro, you need help. I'll help you go find that shit. But I digress. So they're moving on. They're going to have a party at Stifler's. Stifler's the guy that kind of has like, yeah, it looks like he comes from money because he has a big house. He's constantly throwing parties, having kegs and all that stuff, which I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people who did house parties. I never thought I would be that way because of how I was in early high school and middle school. I was more of a loner, weird kid by myself. I did have some friends here and there, but I didn't really do those types of things. And it wasn't until like after like I dropped out my junior year because the Florida education system is so bad because I moved down here for my junior year and they were far behind. So I convinced my parents like, hey, can I just take my GED and then, I don't know, start working? That's exactly what I did. So I got out, but then whenever I moved back to Georgia, my friends were still in high school, and that was like the way I got into like high school parties, going to prom and stuff, because I missed out on those things, you know, or I would have missed out on those. So I still got to enjoy like the high school experience without going to high school, which I don't know, interesting, but I mean, yeah, it fucking worked out for me. I went to a lot of fucking parties, threw a lot of parties. It was great. And there is going to be some jumping around because a lot of times they're just like talking, hanging out, partying, you know, drinking. So there's all that. I don't exactly have to go into all of those. But at this party, you know, they're all talking like, you know, everybody's separated in like their different things. It's a party, you know, they're trying to have fun. So you got to meet other people, side characters and stuff. And then there's Sherman, the Shermanator, you know, like he's a sophisticated sex like robot that is sent back in time specifically to change like the virginity of one lucky woman. That's what he wants to do. He's a fucking nerd, like, dude, he's a fucking geek. But honestly, thankfully I wasn't like that. But I feel like I probably wasn't too far off because now how I just quote movies like consistently and shit like that. He is able to get a girl. He's like nerdier and dorkier than the guys that we're following. He's able to get a girl, and after the night of the party, none of them got laid and still aren't anywhere close to getting laid, except Stifler. Stifler's the only one that fucks, and he has an aura, he fucks, but he's a fucking dick, obviously. But they see that, and then that's when they decide to make a pact. Like, you know what? We're gonna get laid. You know, we have to do this. Like, we like fuck all this noise. We're gonna try. We're gonna be spotters for each other. We're gonna be wingmen. We're gonna make sure we keep each other on track and we get this done. They all agree. It's like, hoorah, let's fucking go. Let's get some fucking hair on our nuts. And I'm not going to go over every crazy scene that happens in this movie because there's a lot of funny shit. And I swear, if you haven't seen this movie, you need to watch it. It is the gem in my heart. And we're going to keep this ball rolling. So after that party, they all decide, you know what, I'm going to change up my ways. Now, him and Stifler, they play lacrosse together. So they're like jocks. And this is where that whole High School Musical aspect of this comes into this movie. Because he decides, you know what, I want to be different, you know, because he tried to be like Casanova. Like his name was like his nickname was literally like Nova. He wanted his friends to start calling him Nova. And he was talking to like a college chick and he was like, yeah, like we're totally going to bang. And they were out at a lake and then he was trying to talk really soft. Like, yeah, you know, I'm interested in what you're talking about. Like, yeah, like you're wanting to learn feminism? That's rad. You know, like it's just like these things. It's like, bro, what the fuck? And he wants to be about like poetry-ish. And he just does it. Like he just straight up says, suck me, beautiful, and hoping that would get him something. And she just laughs at him. It's like, bro, that's kind of pathetic. Like, you're trying way too hard. You know, and it's like you're trying to be something you're not. You know, you thinking you're the smooth fella. It's not really working. Smooth criminal is out the fucking door, bro. So he gets rejected by that. He's like, you know what, man? I'm kind of just trying. I want to go a different way. You know, I want to just be me. You know, I don't want to be a jock. I don't want to be like Stifler or anything. So you know what? I'm going to try to sing. I want to be in choir. So he decides he wants to do that and try to get at the choir chicks, which, you know, nefarious, obviously. But I mean, he does end up liking the girl more and genuinely liking her and all that. So he wants to be more than that with her, which is something I feel like a lot of people that critique this movie a bit too much aren't really thinking about. They just look at it, oh, this movie's just sex. Like, that's all it is. It's just perpetuating this idea of sex. And it's like, well, yeah, because when you're younger, a lot of teenagers and the hormones and shit, like, yeah, it's what you're thinking about. And because of our culture, we like, you know, we just shove it there. But yeah, this is just more so like, all right, these guys are focused on sex. They're focused on the wrong thing. They need to be focused on making memories, having fun, actually enjoying and developing these relationships with other people. Like Jim, he has a good arc. I'm already going to be jumping around. All right, so Jim has a good arc. He is obsessed with this one foreign exchange student, Nadia. You know, hot. Shannon Elizabeth, you know, like she's supposed to be the hot chick, the pinnacle of the woman that he wants. And that's all he wants. But things just keep getting in the way, shit goes wrong, and it just doesn't work out. But he eventually finds somebody. He's like, you know what? This person was kind of just interested in me. And it's the band geek Michelle who actually starts to take interest in him and actually give a shit about him. And he was not really attracted to her or anything. But he realizes, hey, yeah, she's actually kind of cool. And I'm not having this pressure to do anything. So it's like I could just be myself. And this person actually wants to hang out and spend time with me. Boom. He develops that later down the road. Of course, in later movies, they get married. So it's like, yeah, you got to focus on these things. That's exactly what needs to happen. And the same thing with Kevin and Vicky. You know, they realized they were putting so much pressure on the sex and the love and all that. But then they decide, you know what? Like, let's do it. And it's just like, it can't really work out. But they wanted to share that and solidify their relationship on a good standing note, you know, to show that they did love each other for this time, but they have to go off in separate directions because of school. So there's more to it than just like, oh yeah, it's just sex. Like, no, it's telling you that there is more to it. That's the same argument this movie is also trying to make. It's just also talking about just how weird and dumb people can get when it comes to sex and just the situations that you get yourself into. And then I definitely feel bad for Jim because he's always getting in these bad scenarios where now his dad is like, you know what? Because of the whole video thing, and I don't think it's working for you, I got you something. So he got him a few magazines, and boy, was this so awkward. And recently I found out because of an interview Eugene Levy did, he's talking about how he improvised a lot of those lines that was going on whenever they were talking about this. And you could see Jason Biggs like trying to keep it together, like in some of the takes, or at least in one of the takes. He's definitely smiling, but like trying to like hold it. And it's so funny now knowing that. But he's showing him like centerfolds and all this other stuff. And I've definitely had Playboys, you know, or at least I didn't, but my dad did. So that means I did. So it was like mine too. And so what I would do is where I wouldn't always have to fish these out every now and then. This is another thing that completely fucked me over. So I had like another new phone. This is a while after the old stuff. So I don't have to fish out the magazines anymore. Let me just snag a few pictures of them, have them in my phone. Now I have them anywhere I want, bro. I don't have to wait till I'm at home alone or anything. I could just scroll and there we go. Got them. You know what? For some reason, I don't know why, but my tia or my aunt, like one day I was in the shower and she's like, can I use your phone? I'm like, yeah, sure. You know, whatever. This was before I knew anything about like, oh yeah, like, I don't know, hide your shit in a folder or something. But I didn't think I had to tell somebody, don't go through my phone. Why? But then again, I was like young. So it's like, why would I not want them? Like, I don't know. It was like that whole weird thing. Like, oh, what do you got to hide? You know, like, you shouldn't even have anything to hide. But it's like, yeah, but you shouldn't be looking for anything that I could possibly be hiding. It's weird. You know, like it's just one of those things. So then she found that and then it became a thing. It's like, fuck. So like everybody like knew. It's like, well, you're gross. Everybody knows now. Like, fuck me, man. Fuck me. All right, so now everybody at this point is trying to, you know, they're trying to stick to the pact, help each other out. The only one that's going about it a different way is Finch. Finch, what he's doing is trying to spread rumors through another female character to where girls get interested in him because they hear things like he has a tattoo, that he's hung, and like some other shit. I can't really remember. Oh yeah, I think one was that he beat up Steffler. So it's like he's trying to like earn a reputation, and then that starts to get the attraction of girls because it's coming from another girl. They're, you know, believing it. And so people are like starting to kind of pine after him and even ask like his friends if these things are true. And they're just like, well, yeah, you know, yeah, I guess. And it's funny because he is nothing like that. For this guy to take a shit, he literally leaves school campus to go take a shit because he doesn't like to shit in like public stalls. Which I get. Public restrooms can be very fucking disgusting. Don't get me wrong. All right. I've definitely seen some shit. Okay. Even me having this one bad experience when I worked at Walmart, fucking terrible. It was bad. It felt like this would have belonged in the movie. Okay. I worked in electronics. Back section of the store, there's a bathroom. Front section of the store, there's a bathroom by the self-checkouts. In the back, left is women's, right is men. Pretty simple, right? For some fucking reason, I don't know who thought of this, but in the front, the right is women, the left is men. It's fucking flipped. And one day I was like, you know what? I'm already in the front. Let me go use the bathroom. So I go to the bathroom, and me being just fucking dumb because I'm just scrolling on my phone, I'm just like, all right, like walking in. Didn't realize everything is fucking stalls. So I sit in the stall. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do my thing. Grab my cheeks, drop a turd, and go. And then I fucking notice when I'm just scrolling on my phone, I hear female voices. And I'm just like, wait a minute. Where am I? And then I realized, retracing my steps and thinking about it, I walked into the women's bathroom. And I'm just there. And I'm wearing like Vans and, skinny jeans. So I'm like, all right, I kind of blend in. Nobody's going to know I'm a dude. And I'm not doing the typical comedy thing where I'm fucking shitting up a storm or like farting or anything. So I was like, all right, I'm good. Nobody's going to know. I wait for minutes for it to be quiet. And I'm just like, all right, I think I can walk out of here now. And then wouldn't you fucking guess it? The moment I like open it and I just try to walk out, the first fucking person I see, she is standing at the sink, looking in the mirror, just fixing herself, was this really cute Spanish girl that worked in the department next to me and that I was crushing on. And I didn't really talk to, but I was crushing on. And man, I was like frozen. I'm just like, oh shit. And so she looks in the mirror and then turns around and looks at me, and she's like, what are you doing in here? And I literally awkwardly, and you won't see this unless you're watching on YouTube, I just awkwardly, I was like, like I had to use the bathroom, so I just came in here, and then I leave. So I'm like weirdly walking back, like moving my hands, like, yeah, like how to use the bathroom, like this is fucking weird, like what are you doing here, type of thing. It was so fucking embarrassing, dude. I felt my fucking face on fire. Okay, my face was redder than the devil's dick tip. That's how bad it was. One of the worst and most embarrassing fucking moments of my life. It was funny. I laughed about it later because I went and told a coworker, I'm like, hey, so if anything gets said, it was a fucking accident. I didn't just try to be in the women's bathroom, okay? Oh well, I didn't really see her too much after that. She might have been avoiding me, which I completely understand. All right, now back to the movie. So Kevin is having a hard time getting things right with Vicky because she just thinks all he wants is sex. And it's like he does have a lot of feelings for her, but doesn't really know how to tell her that he loves her because he wants it to be perfect. And then she also wants the sex to be perfect, like the perfect moment in time for them to have it. And so it's like they're putting so much pressure on themselves. So he calls his older brother. He's like, hey, I just need help. Like, I gotta know like what to do. And his brother's like testing him, like his character. And he's like, no, like I want to do more than that. I want to return the favor because she does perform fellatio on him often. So he's like, I want to return the favor. I want her to enjoy this as well. I want to give back. So he's like, all right, you're a good man. Cool. I'm going to tell you about the Bible. So this Bible is just a fucking book that just started out, I guess, kind of something like Kama Sutra. But like over the years, it would get passed down to worthy candidates from that school. And they got to add their own stories and techniques to where, to help the next guy, be better at what he wants to do, So he finally gets that, reads it, learns of the tongue tornado. He's like, all right, there we go. I'm going to channel Bill Paxton and just like go in. Like, that's what I'm going to do. Rest in peace to the legend. And while that's going on, you got Oz and Heather, they're having their own thing. They're actually starting to get to know each other a little bit because they're going to be performing in the play together. And they talk about how they get written off being these things. She gets written off of being like, oh, just like a choir chick, you're goody two shoes. That's what you are. And then he says, oh, well, everybody just says I'm a jock and like there's nothing more to me. And like, that's it. He's like, yeah, there's other things I want to do. I have feelings and shit. So they bond over that because she says, oh, I do stuff like you guys. So they start to bond over that. It's like, cool. They start to have like a bit of a spark of a relationship going on there. And during all of this, fucking Jim, earlier in the movie, they're all making fun of each other about how they're stuck at these bases, not getting anywhere. And then they make fun of Jim because he said, oh, you're a bat boy. You know, you're not even on any other base. So it's like, what do you know? I at least know what third base feels like. And I don't want to clarify because as I got older, I realized there's people have different variations of what the bases are. When I was younger, to me, it was, I mean, obviously you go up to bat. All right, first base, you know, you got kissing. There you go. Second base, you touch some boobs. Third base, spread the ham and touch the clam. Fourth base, you hit it home, baby. You're in the hole. That's what I know the bases are. But I've heard like there's some different things like, oh, like first base is like blowjob and shit like that. I'm just like, the fuck? It took me fucking forever to get to that. Like, I don't know what you guys are on. Jesus Christ. I don't know what your variation is. Please let me know in case you heard something different when you were growing up. But they were making fun of him. He asked them, all right, you know, what does it feel like? And they're just like, warm apple pie. And then Jim comes back with the dumbest but most genuine fucking response. He's like, homemade or McDonald's? And I swear I die at that every fucking time because it's so fucking stupid, but I can understand somebody being so fucking naive. So very hilarious. But his mom made a pie. So he decides, you know, I'm gonna like just like put a little, do a little action, get a little feeling, you know, just fucking that type of deal. So, like, all right, you know, I got an idea. So we cut to a shot. You see Eugene Levy's coming in, you know, Jim's dad, he's coming. And so he walks in, and on the fucking like island, the little kitchen table, whatever, he is on there. Jim is on there just raw dogging this pie, man. And it's so funny. There's two different ways as well, because they had to cut a lot out because originally when they shot this film, it was NC-17. So that means you have to be 17 or older to watch the movie. Like no ifs, ands, or buts. You have to have an ID, 17 or older, to watch the movie. So it's like more strict than a rated R. The MPAA was like, you guys got to cut some stuff. You know, you got to change some stuff. And there were so few changes. But the difference is the unrated one, he's on the table and he's thrusting into that shit. You see butt cheeks and you see his like shorts down. He's going ham on it. Now, another one is him just like standing by the counter and he has the pie and like, you know, the pan like on his junk, like right there. Like he's just like holding it, being caught. So there's two different ways. And honestly, both are still fucking funny. But I think him being on the island takes the cake. And then they sit down around this broken like pie, like just all crumbled. And Jim's dad's just like, we'll just tell your mother like we ate it all. And it's just like being caught like that. Like I never understood that. But like I said, I never known any dudes to do anything with food. I know there's like those practices. Never really understood that. But then again, I probably should have, because what I did was way dumber and weirder. So, and I'm going to get into that in a second. So that was how he got caught. Now, I think one of the dumbest things, and I'm not really going to be afraid to tell this, but remember, I was younger. I don't know how old I was, but I was definitely younger. And, you know, I was still like trying to figure things out. And I'm showering, you know, I got like a body wash bottle. And I'm just like, just start, you know, just untwist this a little bit and, there's soap, you know, it's slimy, slippery. I mean, I think this could work. I think this is a great idea. I think I'm the only one that's probably ever thought of this in my life. And so I decide, all right, you know, we're just gonna stick it in right there. And boy, was that a very dumb decision, because holy shit. And this is where I learned never to stick it in anything else ever again, unless it was a real person. So did that. And then, you know, naturally, you know, you're messing with it. So starts to grow. And then it gets stuck. So then I'm freaking out because I'm in the shower, you know, supposed to be a good boy, cleaning myself up. I'm just like, what the fuck do I do now? What am I supposed to do in this scenario? So I'm just sitting here with this thing and I can't just let it dangle off of me because it's going to hurt. So I'm just like holding it. I'm like, great. I need to wait for this to go away. And I swear I had to wait like a good like 15 minutes. And boy, it was terrible. And let me specify, this was back when I was younger and it could fit in the bottle. Things have changed. Just gonna say that. And it's funny because I used to judge this one person because I heard stories and supposedly there was photographic evidence of this. But if you remember the old, like, not DVR remotes, but the old DirecTV remotes, you know, the pretty long ones, you know, the black and white ones, you know, it was white on the front, black on the back, had like that little kind of grip, that silicone-y grip, you know, for when you hold it, push the buttons. I heard that could fit. And I heard it fit pretty well. And I was just like, damn, couldn't be me. That's fucking wild. And what do you know? I got really dumb and decided to try something. I'm like, damn, I do not know which one is worse, but it happened. Never done it again. Never will. But don't use bottles like that. I'm glad there's so many more options nowadays for people. I definitely would have preferred the pie. I probably should have done the pie. And I also think this is funny because back to earlier where I was saying Jason Biggs was worried about his career because of this movie, this scene right before it was about to happen, he was getting anxious. So he's like, all right, he calls his agent. He's like, am I about to ruin my career before it even starts, you know, doing this? Like, should I be doing this? And he said that his manager told him, Jason, you go and fuck that pie with all you got, man. And that was the confidence boost he needed to go in and do that scene. Because, I mean, it did happen. He was the pie fucker. He is known as the pie fucker. That's all he is to a generation of people. And I feel bad, but like I said, I do the same thing with Sean William Scott as Stifler. I say it with love. That's who you are to me because I love these movies. That's who you are, man. And fucking hats off to you. I'm so glad you did this. I don't think another person could have done it. So thank you, Jason Biggs, for making my childhood. I appreciate you. But yeah, so we're going to fast forward a bit. And so there's starting to be some like turmoils here and there. You got Oz and Heather. Heather believes that he only wants her for sex. So she decides, you know, I'm not going to go to prom with you or anything because she saw him joking around with a friend like Stifler. And that's just what Stifler is. So they have their own thing in typical comedy, like fashion, rom-coms and stuff. You know, they veer off a little bit. They have nothing to do with each other. But the guy's going to do everything he can to earn her love back. And he eventually does. So yeah. But somebody who finally gets a break is Jim. Okay? His crush, Nadia, is not doing so hot in this class. And so she needs somebody to teach her. So she goes to him for help. And he's like, yeah, you know, come over to my place. Like, that will work. And she talks about how she needs to change. So she'll change at his place. And all the friends are just like, yo, you know, we could easily watch that. You have a computer in your room. So if you just set up a private link and share it to me, we'll watch. I'll even save you a seat, which this is a very problematic scene because, yeah, this isn't good. You're spying on somebody. This is illegal. So there is that warning. And this is definitely like one of my favorite parts in the movie, mainly because of the music choice, because this is where we get Blink-182's Mutt off of Enema of the State, which is the shirt that I'm wearing. And it's this great scene of him just running from one house to his friend's house to try to catch this whole thing going down. And so when she does undress and, you know, prancing around this room and she finds his magazines and stuff, and then they're sitting there enjoying this whole thing going down. And after a while of watching, you know, she starts to, you know, double click the mouse and is like, all right, if you ever had a chance, you need to go over there now. This is your opportunity. So they convince him like, oh shit. So he runs back to his other place. She's just like, all right, well, you've already seen me. So now let me see you. So this is where one of the more embarrassing parts happens because she makes him like put on like the striptease act and it's fucking terrible. He's a terrible dancer, but he's doing what he has to do. He has moves. He's trying. And so he tries to cover up the camera, you know, with shirts and stuff, but everything falls down. And then they see everything. They see where they lay in bed together. And then ultimately, when he finally gets his chance to try and do something, he blows it prematurely. And everybody thinks that, oh man, it's over. And thing is, it's way more people watching it than he thinks because he sent the link out to everyone like in the school directory, so everybody is watching this shit go down. And I love this because Blink-182 actually makes a cameo with this guy like in this warehouse, and he also has a fucking monkey for some reason. And it's great because so many people are watching this go down, and they witness this guy try so hard to keep at it, but he just can't. And so she gives him another try because he's trying to be a smooth talker and whip out magazines again because she did enjoy them. And then he finally gets the chance to like touch and does it again prematurely. And everybody's just like, yo, again? And I'm glad I can say I've never had this happen. I don't care. I will tell the truth. I will talk about my embarrassing stories. I already named a few. I do not care, but I am so glad this has never happened to me, and I feel bad for anybody this does happen to. Hopefully you get over it. I don't know how to fix that. Hopefully you found a way to fix that problem. So obviously he gets tired of it and becomes a joke to the school and just wants nothing to do with it. So he's starting to lose interest in the bet. Oz is losing interest in the bet. Kevin is trying to make progress. Finch is kind of nowhere to really be seen. You know, he's just letting these rumors play out and just trying to get something off of him. So everybody's not doing so hot in this thing. So the pressures of it get really bad. And I completely understand this because we did put pressures on ourselves when I was younger, like my friends and I, because we are like, yeah, man, like this is what we got to do. This is what we want, all that. But it's not that great. Or at least for me, whenever I finally got to that point and it happened for me, it finally happened. Of course I was excited, but it was nothing amazing. It was nothing great. It was just like, damn, like I don't really regret it. And I do understand some people tell you, oh, you should wait for the person that you love or something like that, make it special and so on and so forth. And it's like, now I understand. Because my first time wasn't with somebody I was dating or anything like that. It was somebody I barely knew in like a public pool, and there's a security camera right there. So that's fun. So that's probably out there or maybe not out there. But that happened. And so like my only thing is like, damn, I kind of wish it was somebody I kind of knew or that I had like a relationship with. That way I could look back on it with more fondness than I do, because that's the only thing. It didn't happen with anybody I really, really cared about. It just kind of just happened. And I was like, oh, do you want to do this? And I'm just in the pool. Like, we should probably go home though. Like it's going to close. And like, or we could do this. And I was just like, got back in the pool and just did my thing for about like 10 seconds and boom, there we go. So that's what happened. Done, But there were opportunities before that, but unfortunately I just kept getting blocked every sort of way. There was this one time I was actually close to having it happen. I was hanging out with my girlfriend at the time, and we were in like her game room, like, all right, we're by ourselves. And so like I'm just sitting down on like her little couch thing. My pants are like to my knees. I still got my boxers on and stuff. She's like on top making out, and it's like, all right, this is about to happen. And then out of nowhere, her mom just walks in and just knocks. And what she does, she just gets off of me, just like crumbles to the floor, like just like embarrassment. And then I'm just there like staring, like jaw dropped, and my pants are just like at my knees. Like I didn't even know what to say. And so she's like, I'm gonna need you guys to come to the living room. And boy, was I fucking terrified. It was so bad. But we went in the living room hanging out, and then she just, because she was doing stuff around the house, she just goes to the room, does her own thing. So it's like, all right, so I guess we just have to hang out in here. I guess we just lost that privilege. All right, cool, nice. But then her dad comes home, and then he just walks by, everything's normal, like, hey, hi, how you doing, so on and so forth. He goes into the room with the mom, and then they close the door. And I make a joke. I was like, man, what if she just tells him about it? Like, she's like, nah, I don't think so. Like, my mom is actually kind of cool about some things, I think we're okay. And then he just comes storming out, and he's just like, I'm taking you home. And boy, it was one of the longest 10 to 15 minute rides of my life. It was just dead silent the whole way. And then I take out my phone in the passenger seat, and then I'm like having it down to my side, just texting on one hand with T9. So I'm going at it pretty quick, typing up a little something. And I text my parents, hey, so I'm gonna be coming back home like soon. So yeah, just a heads up. And they're like, why? Is everything okay? I was like, yeah, I'm just like, yeah, her dad's dropping me off, And So they already got the gist something was up. So he pulls in, drops me off, gets out, and I didn't even know. I was just told to go inside. I don't know what happened after that, but it was fucking terrible. It's like, dude, getting caught doing anything fucking sucks. But that was while I was younger. When I got older, I kind of just stopped caring at that point. And those could be stories for another time, but I really didn't care anymore at that point, getting caught by like friends and stuff like that. That's way different than getting caught by anybody who's like a figure above you or something like that. But now we fast forward to prom night. But now we fast forward to the night of prom. So this is the night everything should have happened. And everyone's just kind of just unhappy. And even Kevin, you know, because he couldn't even really finish up anything. He's like, you know what? Like, I'm finally to that point. And he was the one putting pressure on everybody. And he was getting closer and closer to doing it. And they just flat out tell him, like, look, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't care. I just want to go hang out. Like Jim says this. He's like, I just want to go hang out with that band geek because she actually has other shit to talk about besides sex. And that's what I want to do right now. So they go their separate ways. And in the middle of all this, like of the prom, it gets revealed by the chick that Sherman took to the room and claimed that he slept with all night at that first party. She goes out and tells him, no, we just had a long conversation getting to know each other. So she outs him in front of like the whole school, you know, on the microphone, like on the stage. And he's just shell shocked. And he just gets really embarrassed and just fucking pisses himself. And that starts to give the men back their confidence a bit, like, oh yeah, this fucking guy just lied about his shit. So they go outside, they meet up with Kevin because they're going to go to Stifler's for a party after. And they told him, hey, you know, it turns out nothing even happened. So, you know, we shouldn't even have this pressure on ourselves, because that was kind of like the catalyst for them making this pact and going on and doing their thing. And then lo and behold, whenever they finally get to Stifler's, you know, they all make up and stuff. Everybody's having a good time. Things are going well. And everybody actually gets laid with their respective partners. Now, like, two of the guys had girlfriends now. And then even Finch, the person who's probably been the unluckiest in the whole scenario, he actually gets to hook up with somebody. And it turns out to be Stifler's mom. He randomly runs into her while she's hiding out like in her own room of the house drinking, and they have their own thing. And obviously it's questionable because she's way older. I think she's definitely like mid-30s around this movie, mid to late 30s around this movie being made. And the guy playing Finch, I think he was actually 17, and that's why they couldn't film anything going on really between them. But that happens, so he finally gets his revenge on Stifler. Oz and Heather, they finally hook up, share their moment. Michelle just completely dominates Jim and just takes that virginity and just uses him. And she only asked him to prom because he would put out. So, like, she knew, she used him, and he was very happy about it the next day. So, in the end, everybody got their nuts, man. Everybody got it, and they decide, you know what? And they talk about how, yeah, man, we did it. You know, we learned some lessons along the way, and we got that done. We're going to go off and be men. We're going to go to college and do our thing. Happy ending for everybody, except Stifler, who got to see that his mom got plowed by one of his friends in high school. And that's another thing that's really funny, because Jennifer Coolidge is just like a meme now, but she was a very attractive woman, especially around this time, like in this movie and stuff. And it's insane to me because I always saw her as Stifler's mom. She talks about in an interview saying how because of that role, that allowed her to sleep with over 200 people that probably wouldn't have even looked twice at her. That is a level of confidence that's fucking insane, man. That is wild. I mean, good for her. I'm going to imagine some of those people were definitely fans, you know? And there's this thing about these iconic women that do sleep with fans sometime. I believe Carrie Fisher also had like her own experiences because of Star Wars, so she definitely had some fun. And Carrie Fisher was wild, man. And you read her book and stuff. I haven't read it, but I just know sections. Carrie Fisher had a life, you know. Another rest in peace to the legend, man. She was great. So seeing this, that was insane. And it's funny how like these different, like this movie about sex had different outcomes for different people. Jennifer Coolidge got to do that. Shannon Elizabeth, who played Nadia, after this, she actually went on to do Playboy after this. And she did later say she regretted it, but you know, she got the money because she didn't get paid a whole lot of money for this movie. And it became like a whole thing. She didn't like any of that. So it's insane how this kind of all worked out. How like these women had different experiences. Man, that is American Pie. That is this movie. I love this movie. And going off of my memory, I believe part 2 is even better than this one. I could be wrong, but I definitely got to watch that. I don't know if I'll do a podcast, but I at least wanted to cover this one and talk about it. Talk about my dumb stories and the shit that I've been with. There is even some stuff I have jotted down on here that I just haven't talked about. Maybe they'll be saved for another time, but I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoyed learning about me and just have a drink, watch this movie with your buds, have some fun. It's a good little time. You know, this one in part 2, definitely worth it. But you guys know how it is. I got to send you off with your cookies fortune. So here we go. This one's going to be about self-love. Loving yourself isn't vanity, it's sanity. Do with that what you will, ladies and gentlemen. But until next time, be excellent, be kind, subscribe to the channel.